So then at what time did you realize, like, okay, I have to stop? Did you, okay, even after you got out, did you take any AA classes or any kind of programs? Or just a slap on the hand, huh?
A slap on the wrist. Man, my attorney's good. I can say that. Real good attorney. I didn't know anything about the legal system, nothing like that. And so, I don't even know how I found this guy. I feel like he was in the back of some magazine or something. The top 500, what do they call them? Super attorneys or something like that. And he was like in the top 10. And I was like, I'm calling that guy. And, man, he was buddy with the right people in that jail, or in that county. But I remember going to my court date, and he was the type where he would just keep pushing it off. He's like, "You want to go to court today? I mean, do we have to? No, we'll push it out another month." And so I kept writing out a lot of months. I think I went close to a year before we did anything. And I may be off on those numbers, but we postponed that court date a lot. But the following month, literally, so I had a rental car. So no, it was mere weeks. Had a rental car, and obviously totaled my truck, which was one payment away from being paid off, mind you. And so totaled it, and had this car, and was coming back to West Texas because I figured my parents are going to let me, borrow their old car. And I was actually looking forward to it. I was like, man, get better gas mileage, this and that. It's not a truck. This is gonna be all right. So about that time, my parents were buying a new vehicle, and they're like, yeah, this is the vehicle we bought, and they send me a picture, and I'm like, what the heck? Why did they buy that truck? It was a full-size truck. So I come down, and they're like, yeah, did you see the truck? I was like, yeah. Why in the world did y'all buy that? Oh, that's yours. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we bought ourselves a truck. It's in the garage. You didn't see it sticking out? No, it's dark. I didn't catch that. So my immediate reaction was like, I just got a DWI. I'll gladly take that 2001 Camry right now. Like, you're rewarding me for something right now. I'm the only child. My mom's, obviously got, a lot of love for me. No matter what I go through. No matter how much I disappoint her. And she's just like, no, you need something reliable, this and that. We worked a deal. That's yours. No, I'll take that Camry. Like, I was steadfast. Like, I didn't want it. Like, what are you doing? Well, because I was postponing court dates, and obviously this was, like I said, mere weeks later, I wasn't fully at that point understanding what life was throwing at me. So I'm still doing my old ways, and I'm driving back to the Dallas area, and I get pulled over in Eastland County and spend a night in jail there. First weekend of getting this truck.
Dang.
Boom. Back-to-back jail stints. And that one was, little bitty Eastland, Texas. So it was in and out, and I was out the next day. But the one key thing was they locked the keys in the new truck. And so the first weekend that I had it, obviously it gets impounded. I'm in jail, but they had to jimmy it to get open the door. And this is not the best way to push this truck right now. Like, I'm supposed to be, behind the wheel living it up, and here I am, having to break into my own truck because obviously it's an impound. But still didn't learn my lesson, and so, like I said, by the time I got to my court date there with that first DWI, they worked a lot of it concurrently, and so what I was having to do out of Eastland County, they basically applied it to my first DWI. So with DWIs, you would have like all these classes, and you'd have to do all this, community service and pay all these fees. They took the little amount of stuff that I was doing, and they just applied it to that. Or that's what my attorney worked out. He's like, well, he's doing all this stuff in Eastland County. They're like, oh, okay. You don't have to worry about any of that. So by the time I got that all wrapped up, I paid next to nothing. I did next to nothing.
Dang.
And they were just like, here's a year of probation, keep your nose clean. Okay. So I went 10 months sober at that time. Went 10 months sober, nothing. Cold turkey. Just was, set it aside. Now I still had all of my recreational stuff, I still had, my shoebox full of everything, for a rainy day. But that was it. And so 10 months goes by, and I get non-reporting probation at that point. Basically, just ride out the next few months, keep your nose clean, you'll be, on with life. And so I had a buddy, he came down, we were going to go to a NASCAR race. I don't watch NASCAR. I mean, I'm not a big fan or anything, but hey, let's go to a NASCAR race, Texas Motor Speedway. It's going to be awesome. So we went, we did all of our stuff that evening before. We got our coolers, we were going to plan all this stuff, and we were going to go and, tailgate or do whatever in the pit or do whatever we wanted to do to have a good old time. And so the night before, we went to a concert. Music that I'm really not into or anything, but hey, it was going on, so let's go. So we go, and I twist off. Had my first drink in 10 months. Got my second DWI that night. On probation.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, that was my waking. That's when I woke up. At that point in time, there's certain factors that I blame it on, but the key thing was I was drinking and driving. And that's all that matters. Just because I was in an area, a part of Dallas that, it was North Dallas at that, I really didn't venture that area a whole lot, but there was a lot of construction at that time. And I ended up not really lost, but I missed my exit just because there was so much like on-ramps, off-ramps being closed, and there was construction galore. But because I swerved, because there was a lot of elevation change in the asphalt, that at one point in time I jerked the wheel, not realizing where I was, and thinking, oh man, I'm about to run off into this construction zone. Lights came on.
Hey.
And I was coherent. I wasn't blackout drunk like I was my first one. And there I was, in the back seat of that car. He's like, you got anything going on? Like, no, I'm clean. He's like, oh, let's run your, plates and license. Comes back, and mine stepping out. And next thing you know, I'm failing my sobriety test in the back seat of that car, going to jail again. So I knew at that point I couldn't trust myself. That was it. 10 months, first night, having a good time, thinking, man, I'm on non-reporting probation. Dude, man, this is it. Like, we're close, Come on down. We're going to have a good old time. We're going to go to this race. We never went to that race. I still got the tickets. Never went to that race.
No. They pulled you over right before, huh?
It ruined my good weekend, bro. Like, we were going to have a good old time. We were going to watch cars, man. Anyways. But, went to jail that night, and my buddy did too. They let him out pretty quick. They just gave him like public intoxication or something. But for me, I went to the city jail, and I was in Plano, and then they transported me to McKinney. It was like out of a movie. That next morning, they woke us up and whatnot, and they put us into this completely like armored vehicle, just like you would see in a movie, like where they would put in all the hardened criminals that they gotta like keep from breaking out, because they're just they're gonna be out in society and all of that, So we're chained together, got shackles and whatnot. I was like, man, this is intense. Like, dang. We get in there, we're like scrunched. Like, I couldn't even get my head all the way up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was specifically made vehicle to move, transport criminals and whatnot. And there myself was for alcohol, and so they took me to county at that point, and that was in McKinney, and I stayed a couple of days in there as well. And man, it was there. That was November 3rd, 2013. It was the second, if you will, but the strike of midnight was the third. And I remember sitting there that night and just, I knew that was it, that I couldn't do that anymore. I had to leave that lifestyle behind, everything, whether it was, what I consider to be, the little bitty drugs, it's just weed, it's nothing crazy. It had to go. That was it.
Yeah.
I remember getting out of jail that next day, and my buddy was sitting out in the lobby of that what was it, police, that's jail or whatever it was, because it was like a big old complex. And I remember finding him, and he's like, "Man, I've been trying to bail you out." And the moment that I was about to be allowed, because they found him as a flight risk because he was from out of state. They wouldn't let him bail me out. He's like, finally, once I convinced them, they said, "Somebody bailed you out." And I was like, "Yeah, I bailed myself out." And so we got in my truck, and that was the loneliest drive back to Denton. Even though I had a friend with me, like, I was alone. Just wasn't. It was a gloomy day at that, so everything was just, just felt like the world was on me.
Yeah.
And well, I gotta go back to work tomorrow. I wonder if I have a job.
How many days were you in there?
In that jail for that time, I was in Loose Sterrett for almost 5 days. I got out on the 5th day in Dallas County. In this county, it took me 3 days to get out. It was Wednesday when I got out, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess there's something about those larger city jails. It takes a while to process and get through. But that jail wasn't bad. I mean, it had its quirks and whatnot. I mean, no jail is good, obviously. Yeah. But that jail wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as Loose Sterrett, where, I saw a guy pop off and guard grabbed his face and just slammed it right into a beam, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, that's the environment we're in. Like, and I've never seen that anywhere else other than in Loose Sterrett. That is one heck of a jail. I mean, but like I said, you're in the heart of Dallas at that point. That there's some rough and tough guys in there, and so, I just mind myself, and they don't mess with me, I don't mess with them. Get out, type of thing. But as far as that jail was concerned, it wasn't too crazy. It was just a matter of, I just got to get out of here. I'm tired of this. Yeah. And so at that point, I'd had my two DWIs. And so having the second DWI with that first one already in tow, now it's everything that you didn't get for that first one. Here you go. So I got everything in full. I mean, all the penalties and the fines and the jail time, having an interlock in my truck, all the things that could come with it, I got it tenfold. And so the first one, like I said, was a slap on the wrist. But you also got to think that I just totaled a truck, so you're losing the value of everything that you've invested into that. But also, with that second one, they came at me. And man, I remember at one point in time, I calculated the amount of money I've spent on DWIs. I should have worked that up again, because I don't remember that number. But we're talking tens and tens of thousands of dollars. Like, I think without the vehicle was close to 70. And then that was like a $35,000 truck. Somewhere in there. So it gets expensive very fast.
Oh yeah.
And so the habit and the lifestyle, I mean, looking back at all of the drugs or alcohol that I've ever consumed or been a part of, to have that money back, man, I'd I'd have a nice place like this. You know, I wouldn't have endured a lot of the stuff I've done, obviously, but you know, that was a part of just living and learning. That's just what I knew.
Yeah.
And when it came to that second DWI, like I said, that was the time. That was it. Where when I got out and I went back to work, and my main supervisor, she was just a few years older than me, so she was real like young, hip, if you will. And she's just like, Nick, you know, like you can't. At some point, something has to change. You can't keep doing this. And I said, I know. You know, and so we had a one-on-one there in her office for a bit. And at that point, I think a lot of people knew that there was something coming, that there was a major change. You know, that it was just almost kind of, you know, projecting off of me, if you will. You know, that they're just like, okay, you know, Nick's seen it. He's been through it. He's at a low, you know, and I really was. And when I sat in jail that particular time, I've never sat in jail the way I did that night or those nights, you know, there in Collin County, just thinking, man, you know, where is life? You know, where is this taking me? What am I doing? You know, and so, you know, 6 years ago, 2013, I'm 32 now, you know, so at that time I was 26, and so going into 27, because it really wasn't until I was 27 that I understood life, that I understood what was happening around me, that I was able to comprehend it. You know, because in November of 2013 I was 26, and I got out of jail, and at that time I finally had a male colleague. I used to work in an office where it was nothing but females, and so if I had a bad day, I'd get up and walk around and be like, you know what, it's not that bad after all, you know. Nothing but women, you know. But there was a lot of estrogen in there, so it was like, man, I could really use some testosterone right now, you know. And I finally had a male colleague, and he was an Oklahoma Sooners fan. You know, so we automatically didn't like each other. Yeah. But he liked college football just as much as I did, so we chop it up all the time. And you know, finally had some male camaraderie in there. It's like, man, like I just want to talk about cars, football, like something. But he and his grandmother lived together, and they were real involved with the local church there at Denton Bible, and he knew that something was up. You know, obviously it was no secret that I was having some issues and was in and out of jail at that point. Had 3 arrests relatively quick, 2 with alcohol, 1 was a possession charge, and he came to me one day and he just kind of sat in my area, and he's just like, you know, you're more than welcome to come with me and my grandmother this Sunday. And I looked at him and I said, you know what, I'm on board, let's do it. And he's like, what? Like he wasn't expecting me. He's like, hold on, I just asked you to go to church, you know, essentially. I'm like, yeah, like I need that, let's do it. And so that next Sunday, I got out of jail midweek that week, and by that Sunday, I had completely reverted my life.
Wow.
I went to my first ever church service
Nice.
at 26 years old. No one forced me. No one drugged me in. You know, it wasn't parents. It wasn't a spouse. You know, it was my calling. That was it. That I needed something else. There's something else out there. What is it? I don't know what it is. But there's something else out here that's telling me that 10 months after I had my first DWI and my first night drinking, that I'm at this place. Why? I want to know why. And it could be a matter of mere coincidence. It could be a matter of that there's higher power, that there was something out there watching over me. But went to church that Sunday, and man, it was great. It was great. I walked out. I didn't know what the heck I even experienced. I was like, what was that? He's like, yeah, you should go buy a Bible. That might help you. He handed me his every now and again. I'm like, oh, that's what they're talking about? Right on, cool. I don't know what that is. But, I mean, it was a mega church. Denton Bible is not small. It's huge. And but the pastor, great guy, Tommy was his name. I'm trying to remember his last name. I feel like it's Phillips, but I'm probably wrong on that. But he was, very engaging. And I'm sitting there just listening to this man. I'm like, man, everything he's talking about is hitting the nail on the head right now. Like, this is, does this guy, am I the only one in the room? Like, does he know what's happening here?
Yeah.
And so at that particular time, like I said, solely just on my own, seeking what's out there. Never done this. We're about to embark on something. And so that evening, there was a concert in Fort Worth, and I really wanted to go to. And there was this Christian metalcore band called War of Ages. And back in the day, in like 2005, they played here in Seminole. They played at the Agape Church. Then it's called Atlas Church now, where the big AT&T tower is.
Yeah.
Well, back then, the youth leader there used to book concerts. And in 2005, 6, and 7, roughly, I saw some really good bands in this town. Like, bands that are, like, huge these days, touring, like August Burns Red. They played their very first album here in little bitty old Seminole, Texas.
Oh, wow.
They sell out arenas now. I mean, that band is huge. They're a very big Christian metalcore band. I've seen other bands play here that I would have never have had the chance to see had this guy not booked them. So I'd come to Seminole and, rub shoulders with guys I hadn't seen since high school. And, like, can you believe this band's here in Seminole? No, but nevertheless, that was the last time I saw War of Ages. And I loved their first album, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go catch this band. And it was them, and I can't remember the other. I should have looked this up before we did this, but one of the other bands that played that night was called Colossus. They only released 2 albums. They were on. It was a fully Christian show. All bands were Christian bands that were either from Face Down Records or Solid State Records, which are they're just a Christian label that releases obscure heavy music, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'd never really listened to Colossus, but I knew War of Ages. Man, the other band is on the tip of my tongue. They were great. Anyways, I approached the singer later on. At some point, I passed him in the venue, and well, let's just say, first off, so I was cruising down to the show, down to Fort Worth, and I was listening to an album that I hadn't listened to since like high school. That it was kind of like a guilty pleasure for me at the time, let's say. Like, you wouldn't find me listening to this band or listening to that style of music much because I had moved on, I had progressed. I thought that, oh man, I listened to heavy music and only that. But it was Linkin Park. I found their first album, The Hybrid Theory, for $1 at a CD shop. I still buy CDs till this day. That's my thing. I love buying CDs. Anyways, I found the CD for $1. I was like, I'm gonna buy it. Heck yeah. I put that mug in, was cruising down to Fort Worth. I was like, man, this CD rocks, man. Oh man, this is good. I was like, man, I haven't listened to this since I was like 1999. Yeah. And I remember a buddy having it, and I was like, oh, that's garbage, dude. I don't listen to that band. And then here I am, like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
So I'm like reliving this old glory day, or, finding something, of yesteryear, if you will. But every song is just, oh man, this is good. I'm like singing all the lyrics. Like I listened to the album a million times. But that's just how good that album is. Like every song was a hit. So I get to the show. It's in a bar. I'm really testing myself here. It's a very small venue. It's almost like a trailer house, very low ceilings, and it's real narrow. And obviously the focal point of that place, it's a bar. They just happen to have a stage to let bands play. They, it can be Christian, it could be straight edge bands, it could be whoever. There's no rules. I've seen straight edge bands there where most everybody in the crowd was smoking cigarettes, and the singer was just like, let's just all smoke one right now. He said it, being an a-hole, if you will, just to see if anybody would do it. Next thing you know, the entire venue's smoking, and he's like, I hate you all, because straight edge guys, they don't indulge in anything. And, so having a mass amount of cigarette smoke is kind of offending, if you will. And they played the show, but nevertheless, Christian concert, and it's at a bar. Well, I really tested myself that night. I was like, okay, I've tested my willpower before. I've done it when I was 22 through 29. I did something with my life at that point in time that most young people probably would not do. Mm-hmm. But that taught a lot about me on how I can handle a certain situation. Yeah. And so I was like, if I can do that, I can do this. We can do this, And so at one point in time, I caught myself between bands leaning against the bar, along the bar top, Bartender pulling up, you're walking up to me, can I get you anything? No, I'm good. What are you doing at my bar top? I could serve a customer right now, but nevertheless. And so, I'm here for the music. I'm here for this tonight. And this band Colossus gets on stage. The lead singer's name is Alex. I ended up becoming pretty good friends with him. Still got his phone number and everything to this day. But he gets on stage, and before the band starts, he says a few words, he kind of, cites some verses, different things. It's a Christian show, Back in the day, I'd go to a metal show, and if they were a Christian and they were preaching on stage, boo, get off stage. I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
Play the music. Come on. Your music's good. I don't want to hear none of that. That night I wanted to hear it. I was like, bring it. Come on. Preach it, brother.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
And he got to a certain point where he was talking about the different songs. Each song that came in, this is what this song's about. Whatever, what have you. And one of the songs was about alcohol. He had said that this song here, I wrote this in regards to alcoholism. I battle with this. I will never claim to be sober. This is something that is a part of my life, and I wish it wasn't. And this is a song I wrote, essentially. And so he plays that song, and it was like the greatest song. I was like, yes. By the end of it, I was like, play it again. And he's like, you know what? We're going to play a cover tonight. We don't really play covers. I'm feeling it tonight. We're going to play a cover song. So how many Linkin Park fans do we have here tonight?
Wow.
And I'm like, heck no. No. Sure enough, they played one song from that album that I had just blasted on like 30, on my stereo. Full blast. I was loving it. I was like, oh man, this is good. Play the whole album while you're at it. Come on. Like, don't even play your songs. Just play the Linkin Park stuff. So here's this hardcore band, metalcore band up there playing this cover song. And I was like, man, that's so good. Well, like I said, I had crossed paths with the guy from More of Ages, and I was like, man, I haven't seen you since way back in the day. Y'all did a tour. And I had told him the tour, what bands were on there. And he's like, dude, that was like 2005 or so. I was like, yeah, I saw you in a little bitty town at a church in Seminole, Texas. And he's like, what the heck? That's random. What are you doing here? And so we had, chopped it up, had some words, and then that's when Colossus, they wrapped up their set and were at their merch table, and Christian bands are real quick to always say, hey, anybody want to talk, have some words, feel free and come on over. I wanted that. I needed that. And so I engaged in that. Here I was, 26, first time ever. Never done anything like that in my life. And I went up and I talked to Alex and was telling him, I was like, man, this is my story. This is where I'm at right now in life. We talked till about 1:30 that night. Buses were packed, everybody's gone, and we were just talking, you know, and he's just like, there's this light. This is what he told me. He said, there's a light inside of you, and it's beaming. It's begging to just radiate, just shine. He's like, it's in you. You have this, you know. And I left that night the biggest fan. I was like, Colossus, man, that band. I listened to the music, and is it the best? Nah, no, but it's good, you know. Like, it has a lot of deep meaning for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, after that, we exchanged numbers, and that night forever changed me. Was like, all right, there's too many coincidences that are happening this night. All kinds of stuff's happening. You know, first church service, going and checking out this band. You know, hearing this band talk about everything that was going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being able to talk to this gentleman the way that we did, you know, after that concert. You know, engaging with the guy from War of Ages, you know, bringing up old, you know, past times, whatnot. And, you know, so by the end of it, I was, you know, at that point I was fully engulfed in it, you know. I didn't know what I was seeking. I didn't know at all what I was doing. Went back to work and was telling my buddy Chad about it, and he's like, man, that's awesome, you know. And he's sitting here thinking that I'm weird because I'm going to these heavy metal shows or whatever, but that's my thing. Like, I love, you know, rock shows and whatnot. And it's like, no, but you don't understand, these guys are Christian, you know. Like,
Yeah.
he thinks it's obscure because they're like screaming and whatnot. And,
Yep.
but I've a lot of my old favorite bands have always been Christian bands. You know, a lot of early metalcore and hardcore and whatnot, they've always been Christian influenced, you know, and or Christian bands. And so, you know, I've always kind of had that liking for these particular bands. And, you know, so back then when my mom thought it was weird, I was like, no, but Mom, they're Christian.
Dude, that is awesome, man.
So, yeah, so that led me to a whole other venture in life. By the next weekend, I decided I needed a full cleansing. I told myself everything, like it head to toe, different. And went back to church with my buddy, and we went out. We had lunch, and you know, usually I might get like the burger or get something fried. I got a salad. I don't remember what I got, but it didn't have meat. By the following weeks, as they were coming along, I was starting to venture into vegetarianism. By the time late January, February had came of the following year, I was full-blown vegan.
Wow.
I did a complete cleanse of myself. I wanted nothing of my old life. I wanted everything to be new. And I did it wrong. I mean, I was like skin and bones. I did it real wrong. There's a right way to vegetarianism. There's a right way to veganism.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about dieting. I just knew that I wanted to test myself. Like, I'm doing something that I've never embarked on, and there's no one here to guide me. You know, there's no one here to hold my hand and show me the way. You know, other than Chad, he was the only one that was there. You know, and yeah, man, you're more than welcome. You know, every Sunday, me and my grandmother, we're gonna be there. Okay. So shortly thereafter, I buy my first Bible, and you know, I'm like going to Mardell and you know, looking at all the Bibles, like, why there's so many Bibles in here? Like, what is there just one for me? You know, and I got like a cool case for it and everything. I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm fully invested now. And I had my Colossus stickers. I bought some merch from them. They had some stickers, and I was using them as my bookmarks. I was like, yeah, you know, this is awesome. But man, I got engulfed with it. I was like I said, was never baptized. Didn't grow up in a church. Was not familiar with God. I did not know anything about the Holy Spirit, anything along those lines. And so there I was every Sunday, and then you know came a point in time where you could start getting into men's groups and whatnot. I'm like, okay, you know, well, what men's group do I want to get in? You know, And so I got into, I'm not here to preach or give any type of like verses or anything, but is it Romans 7, I believe? Which one is it? Is it Romans, oh man, is it Romans 2, Romans 3? There's a particular Romans that is like dedicated to, at this particular church they had a men's study on, I feel like it's Romans 7. I don't know why I'm thinking that. I may be wrong.
I don't even have my.
But nevertheless, I got engaged with that, and that was one that was held at the church itself, and that was once, twice a week, however long it was, a week. And then I ended up getting into another men's group where it was at one of the elders' house, and at that point in time, I got real close with a gentleman by the name of Calvin Clark. And that gentleman is spectacular. He's an ex-football player. He's got a line of family that's been in, athletics, and went on to professional sports, what have you. But he's a man of God, and he led me through a lot of stuff. When he's still Facebook friend with me, and every now and again he might chime in on my statuses or posts or whatever. But
yeah.
He was a great man that was there for me, and he really, at that point now I had somebody. Now I had somebody that was, willing to, Chad was there, we were there on a Sunday, but now I have somebody there that's checking in on me regular. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you? Where are you? Type of thing.
Gotcha.
And then we were having that study at that gentleman's house, and now at that point, like, it was like almost every other day I was a part of church, and there was a men's conference coming up. Started looking forward to that. I'm like, what am I doing? I had no idea what I was doing. It was like, I'm just there for the ride. I'm here for the journey. There's something out there. This keeps happening to me, and I'm done.
Yeah.
Why? What's happening? And so at that point in time, it was, into 2014, and I was really making some strides in life, making some major lifestyle changes, and and so I was very vocal, and I'm still vocal. Obviously, I'm here,
Yeah.
Like I'm not shy. I think there's a lot of taboo with people in thinking that they're going to be ridiculed or looked a certain way. Maybe they're embarrassed of their past.
Yeah.
Things along those lines. I'm not. Like, I'll tell you right now of everything that I ever did that screwed up my life. And I will never claim to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I may come off a little brash because I'm a certain way, because I want to remain that way. I want to remain sober. I don't want to be near anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was fully invested in something that I didn't know how to really take it. I was just in for the ride, and so here I was on Facebook, and I think I had Snapchat then, maybe not. Anyways, like, going to church tonight, and buddy's like, you okay? But I was what helped me. Like, I actually had a friend that reached out to me earlier this week, and he asked, essentially, he was telling me that, let me bring it up real quick. He was telling me that he had essentially kicked all of his habits. He was asking me what my inspiration was. And he said that he had given up everything other than alcohol, and he was trying to look for some inspiration. He said that he didn't know of anyone to reach out to, so he figured that he would ask me. And I typed up this pretty long paragraph, and some of the key points to this that I told him was, you have to get out of your comfort zone. It's easy to fall back on old ways.
Yeah.
It's easy to resort to something that you've always been a part of, that is a staple in your life. For me, it was weed back then. That was Mary Jane. She was my pride and joy. Like, you can't tell me anything about her. She's always been there for me.
Yeah.
Then it got to a point with alcohol. You can't tell me anything different about alcohol. I can go to the corner store right now. I'll be all right. It's easy to go into those old ways. It's easy to go down to the friend's house that has the stuff that you don't need to be doing. It's easy to, come back to Seminole and run with the same friends that now at 32, going on 33 years old, that are doing the same things that we did when we were teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for me to do that. It's easy for me to go down to Allsup's and have the worst day, instead of going to the gym and hammering it out and being like, you know what, tonight's the night. Like, you have to get out of your comfort zone. For me, it was easy for me to do that. For one, I wasn't ashamed to go to church. I think it might have been a little bit different if I had groups of friends that really knew me, that were close and like, Nick, you going to church? What? But I was unashamed. I was able to just walk in and I was free. Like, it was just me. There was no one else.
Yeah.
It was just me and the man that's preaching, and me trying to decipher what it is that he's saying, and whether or not it's applicable to me.
Yeah.
And majority of the times I didn't know what the heck he was saying. But every now and again it struck a chord, and I'm like, yes, I like that.
Yeah.
And then that Roman study, man, that Roman study was spectacular. There was a lot of key points that just were triggering, that were hitting, were just right where they needed to be. But like I said, it was one of those things where I had to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I had to explore for myself what is out there.
Yeah.
And it sucks it took all of that. It sucks it took 2 DWIs. It sucks it took all those tens of thousands of dollars. At that point in time, I was doing weekends in jail as well. Shortly after. I mean, at this point in time, I'm fresh out of my second DWI. I'm fresh into getting into church just like the following weekend and whatnot. But by the time the court date came, because I had the same attorney, and he's like, "You want to go to court today?" No, not really. We kept pushing it out. Well, by the time that summer had came, by the time May into June had came, I started doing weekends in jail for my second DWI, and I'd have to report into Collin County at Friday, after work. And then I'd get out Sunday night at midnight, back at work Monday morning. And I did that all summer long. And, so at that point in time, it's like, okay, I'm over this jail stuff. Like, I'm doing this for me, obviously, to get through this, because that's a part of, I just got convicted of my second DWI. Mm-hmm. So, this is part of the consequences. So, and then, like I said, I was full-blown vegan. So, I was going in there like skin and bones. And it got to a point where I knew that the meals were so terrible. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to Rudy's. That's where I went, because I lived right next to a Rudy's. And I got the biggest plate of barbecue that they had. And I'd eat it from Denton to McKinney before I turned myself in. So that way I had a big old meal, and I'd eat that crap during the weekend, and I'd get out, and I would still lose weight. I was like, man, I can't be losing any more weight. I was 27 years old, and I was 118 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like I said, I did it wrong as far as veganism was concerned. Like, I wanted to cleanse, I got that cleanse.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a testament to my willpower. Like I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I did it. Now, would I go back and do it better? Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But, that was something for me to say, you know what, I did that. I was able to do that.
Yeah.
If I can do that, I can do the next thing. And, I look back on it, and, like I said, I wouldn't change it. Yeah. I wouldn't tell myself anything any different. Obviously, to save money, maybe, or to not get into so much trouble. But it's a story that can, enlighten a lot of people, the darknesses that are out there.
Yes, sir.
All the, you find yourself in this dark abyss, and you don't know where to go. You're sinking, and you keep sinking. And I had to fall flat on my face to understand where I was. And so by the time I got into, these men's studies, I attended this men's conference, I was a changed individual, 100%. And I'd go spend my weekends in jail and, chop it up with the guys in there. It was a real relaxed jail. Like, they had a library in there, and you'd go play basketball and hang out, and, you know, and I made friends. It was kind of weird, but you know, and then, all right, see you later. See you next weekend. You know, same time, same place. Right on. I'll be here too.
Yeah.
And you know, just at that point, it wasn't that I'm just getting through it. You know, like this isn't a speed bump anymore. This is life. This is a changer. This is it for me. And I did so throughout those remaining years. And by the time late summer had came, I had gotten a random Facebook message from an old high school friend here out of Seminole. And he's like, you know, what do you know about this career field? And I was like, my artistic skills suck. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no, it's all computer based. And you know, I'm like, I don't know nothing about drafting. What is that? You know, and he's like, well, have you ever thought about coming back to Seminole? I said, yeah. I said, it's been heavy on my heart here of late. You know, there's a lot of things going on. I've been doing all this, you know, seeking up for myself and, you know, cleansing of myself and all these different things. I need to get away from this lifestyle. Like I've got to remove myself from the city life, you know, this concrete jungle, the hustle and bustle, the 100 miles an hour. You know, I need something to slow down in life.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, if you come back to Seminole, I have a job offer for you. Okay, I'll be there in 2 weeks. Went to work and put my 2 weeks notice in, and 2 weeks later I was packed up and moving back to Seminole. You know, it was a journey. It all happened relatively quick. I mean, from 10 months of being sober to now 6 years being sober. You know, almost in actuality I've been close to 7 with that one, you know, major hiccup.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you know, it's one of those things that I had to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to essentially, you know, remove myself. Now, did I have to remove myself from the things that I enjoyed? You know, like concerts, things like that? No. You know, but that's what strengthened me was, you know, test yourself. Let's go. You know, go have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, obviously don't go and open up a tab or anything, you know, and here, you know, let me get a round of beer, you know, what have you. But, you know, those are the things that I had to do to figure it out. And not everybody's the same. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my journey or my story, testimony, what have you, is going to save you or is going to be a benefit to you. Something for me that absolutely was awful. You asked me after all of this, but had I ever been to AA or anything like that? Been to AA twice. It was terrible. I will never go back to AA. It's not for me. But does Christianity or finding, you know, God or going to church, is that for the next guy? May not be.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people will tell you, you know, you need to change your life. You need to start going to church, or you need to go to AA. You have to have it in you, first of all. If you want it, then you're gonna, you know, you're gonna seek it. You're gonna grasp it, and you're gonna take it by the horns, and you're gonna do what you need to do. But that's something that comes from within.
Yeah.
You know, much like the gentleman that reached out to me and asked me, you know, what inspires you? You know, and then I gave him a big old, you know, paragraph and a reply on what, you know, exactly how I would approach it. But I make that disclaimer. This is on me. This is how I approach it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it'll help you, but if it does, you know, take what you can from this and make it your own.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, and so as far as, you know, AA is concerned, that was a part of my requirements for my second DWI. They required that I go to 2 sessions. And I don't know if I picked the wrong place. Obviously I did. But they give you a list and they kind of say, well, here's a map of all the different ones that you can go to. So I went to the one that was nearest to me, if you will. Well, it actually ended up being off of the square there in Denton, where another bar happening area is. So there were guys walking in there just drunk, leaving the bar, going straight into AA. You know, I'm so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I see that. You know, but there's different types of classes too. Some of them allow smoking. And I've never been one for smoking cigarettes.
Mm.
My mother does it or did. I grew up around it, and I just despise it. It's just one of those things that just disgusts me. And so I sat in 2 meetings back to back of a lot of smokers. And by the end of it, I mean, I had this aura of smoke on me. My eyes are bloodshot. My head hurt. Obviously, I had to wash my clothes 2 or 3 times over,
Mm-hmm.
But I walked out and was like, that was terrible.
Mm.
Like there was like benches on the outer wall there, and people were so messed up that they were just laying on those benches.
Dang.
And then when they'd go around introducing themselves, they just raise their hand. Oh, I'm so and so, blah blah blah. Like they allowed that. That some AAs do.
Yeah.
In their opinion or their eyes, I guess they're like, well, he's off the street. He's here. At least he's not behind the wheel or he's not at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still enabling it in the sense of, go do you and then come back here and we'll do our thing.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And and it just wasn't alcohol. There was people in there that I could tell that were on other stuff too. So it just wasn't for me. That wasn't anything that I found relatable. A lot of stuff that they were talking about. But, as far as like all the other classes that you end up having to do, a lot of alcohol classes, a lot of drug classes, things like that you have to get your hours for. I found those to be more beneficial,
Gotcha.
And at first, I guess it depends on what county you go to. When I moved back to Seminole, I was still having to do a lot of stuff. I was still having to take particular classes. I still had an interlock in my truck. And if I went to a class in Dallas, I took a lot away from it. Like at one point in time, I even asked the lady, what do you got to do to be you? I'm sure it doesn't pay a whole lot of money, but like you're in a position to help others.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Like I would love to do that. And she said you had to go through schooling and get a degree and so forth. I'm like, no, that's not for me. But if you come to the classes here in Seminole, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Mm.
And I guess that's just a matter of who you are as a person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you want to invoke change and you want to be there and you want to help the next person, then you're gonna, you're gonna be more engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Seminole, that you don't have that.
Yeah.
No. This lady here, she's just gonna mingle with you more than anything.
Gotcha.
And so I really didn't get anything out of it other than I'm just trying to get the last of what I need to get done. But I still have my interlock in my truck. And I had to do that for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it's more expensive out here. In the Dallas area, you pay a certain amount. It's always flat. I came down here and I went to Odessa and it was like $30 more. I was like, what the heck? I was like, man, we're spending a whole lot of money here. But, had to do what I had to do. Keeps you in check.
Oh, yeah.
So much so that you couldn't even use hand sanitizer. One time I blew into it and it detected the hand sanitizer off my hand. And, oh, man, I was a nervous wreck. I called my probation officer. I called my attorney. Hey, it's saying I just blew. I didn't blow anything. They're like, no, it'll cycle through, I'm like, are you sure? Yeah. Okay, yeah. And then blow, and it gives you a second chance.
Gotcha.
It's like, oh, man, but that's one of those things. Like I said, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's AA, whether it's these classes, whether it's church, When I moved back to Seminole, I got invited to, at the time, I think it was still Family Harvest. I think it's been Transformation Church. How many years now?
It's Transformation Church now. It's been a couple
of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this was 5 years ago. I moved back in September of 14. So we're just over 5 years ago, and I got invited to go there, and I did through, I feel like January-ish, because I remember I went to the service, and it's Todd, is his name, right?
Pastor Todd,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
he said something about Go Broncos, and it was playoff season at that time.
Go Broncos.
Yeah, there was a particular playoff game that was going on that day, and I'm a Broncos fan, and so he said, I guess because Peyton Manning was on the team at the time.
Huh.
Nevertheless, he said, go Broncos. And I was like, I like this church. But I I don't go. I'm not. I'm not a. I'm not a full-blown Christian. I won't claim to be. Do I believe that there's something out there? Yes. Something saved me. Did I find what I was seeking for? No. Did I find me in that time? Did I understand who I was, where I needed to be, where I needed to go in life? Yes. Do I want to get back? Now's not the time. But these types of things, as far as this gentleman reaching out to me, or literally this week having a guy come into my office and ask me, why do I have these urges? Like, I just bought this house, and I just want to hang out. I just want to crack a cold one today, and sit back in my house that I just signed the papers on my recliner, and I had to tell him, get out of your comfort zone, do something, take those energies and revert it in some other way. Take this as an opportunity to not be selfish. As this is what I did. No, you and your wife did that. Y'all bought that house. Take that and construct it into something that you two can reward yourselves with this house, whether you're furnishing it, or you decide, hey, we just got this house, but it would be really nice in that corner, and let's construct that, let's build it together. Or do you like to cook? Okay, go home, cook a meal for your wife in your new home. Dude. Take those energies and make something positive out of it. Make it beautiful. Make something out of it that, instead of you going home and sitting back and wanting to crack open that bottle or that beer or that can, you're just leaning back on that what was so familiar. No,
that's so good, man. I like that. I like what you had to say right there. That's wisdom right there. That even goes for people maybe who aren't really struggling with anything, but just go out there and just cook for your wife. I mean, dude, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you opening up about all this, about everything. And also just the advice that you've given out there. You do have social media, so if somebody wanted to reach out to you, just like how they're doing now, what is how can they do that?
Facebook, just be my name, Nick Garcia. I'm sure you can find me. I don't know if I have a handle or anything on there, but most everything else is a letter X, and then my first name, Nick, _GX. That's my Instagram. That's pretty much every other social media that's out there. Like I said, I still have friends that reach out to me, whether it's on Instagram, mainly Facebook, that, I probably will get one every few months or so. It just happened to be this week. I've had 2 reach out to me, but, I know what it's like to go through those struggles. I know what it's like to be at the depths of, a very dark place. It's hard to get out of it, especially when you have mental, other stuff going on, And that's something that I endured this year. I don't have the best insight when it comes to mental health. I've only embarked something like that for the first time this year, as far as, anxiety and depression and stuff like that, life coming to another crossroad. And then here I am, not knowing how to handle it, because I've never embarked on that. And so, for 6 months this year, I was in a very dark place, and then in June was like, I've got to kick this up. Something's got to change, So there's some stuff I can give some insight to, maybe help out. Like I said, some wisdom, like you said, rather, wisdom, But not everybody's the same. And when it comes to alcohol, it's very misconception. It's like, oh, it's they got commercials. It's down at the corner store, what have you. I mean, a lot of us struggle with it. We don't even realize it, And I'm 6 years sober, and I still struggle with it. And I kid you not, last night I had a dream about drinking Budweiser. I don't know why, but in my dream, we were drinking Budweiser. And I wake up, cold sweat every single time. And that's a almost an every night occurrence. So it doesn't change. So if you got something in life that whether it's inspiration of just how to remain positive. It has nothing to do with, that, hey, I'm going through with some type of battle in life. I'm always here.
Yeah.
I'm here to hear you out, speak to you, talk to you, hear you out, and let you speak to me,
Yeah.
And if it has anything to do with drugs or alcohol, man, I mean, I'm all familiar with that. Let me tell you, and like I said, I'm not ashamed of it by any means. I'll share my story with anybody, and if it can help anybody, get through that, that slump in life.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Oh yeah.
And you can make it however you want to make it, mold it to how you want it to be. And as far as your body and your, your own temple, I mean, if you want to go full blown vegan like I do, it's there. Or like I did. I'm not vegan anymore. That didn't last very long, but there's a lot of things out there that you can do to mold and take those energies.
Yeah.
For me right now, it's the gym.
Yeah.
I go in there and I just hammer down. I'll beat myself up rather than feeling like crud the next day after a night of drinking. I'll take that any day.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a newfound love. I went through a gym stint and then I kind of backed out and then now I'm back in. But just fall in love with something new. There's so many different things out there. Loving the bottle and loving the way it makes you feel and that you can sleep at night. I mean, there's much more rewarding things out there in life.
Oh yeah.
And whether it's seeking or just manifesting something for yourself. I mean, I'm here to help you make it happen.
Awesome,
Yeah.
man. Dude, well, I appreciate you, and I also want to invite you to church, Transformation Church. You're more than welcome. Sundays and Wednesdays, for sure, man. 10:30 on Sundays and 7 on Wednesdays.
I appreciate that. It'd probably be a good reunion for me. I'm sure there's a lot of people there. Like, man, I see you at the store, and you're an a-hole, man. You want to say hi? I think I kind of had that label here. I try to stay away from certain groups or whatever, and I don't mean to be that way to so many others. That mean well.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, "Hi, Nick," and I'll just keep walking. And I get out to my car or my truck, and oh man, that was so and so. Oh, I should have said hi, but it might be a good way to catch up with some.
Oh
folks.
yeah, that'd be good, man.
Hear the good word.
Yes, sir. That'd be good. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, No Holds, and also YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. But that is all that we have for today. Till next time, we out. Peace.